right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Just Learn Crypto Show. I'm Sean, and I'm here today with Ashton Addison from EventChain and the Crypto Coin Show. Thanks for coming on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. So just a little bit about myself. I got into the crypto space back in 2013, 2014. I've always been an advocate for educating people on blockchain and Bitcoin technology. So I've tried to do similar things to what Just Learn Crypto is doing. You know, we're trying to educate people, give them the basics. Once they understand the foundations of blockchain technology, then we dive them into other blockchain protocols, ICOs, exchanges, markets, altcoin picks, that kind of stuff. So fascinated by everything in the whole industry.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and because blockchain's really touching every industry. I mean, once someone gets into this space, there are so many roads that they can head down. I mean, it's really endless.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
It's especially for people like us that came into blockchain with a transferable skill before that. I come from sales and marketing, and that's something that I can transfer into this industry. So it's a really exciting time. There's so many new job opportunities coming out, and both of us are really focusing on the same thing, which is education. And it's amazing that there's such a lack of it in the space right now. There's so much confusion around it. And there's so many cool projects coming up that are giving people the opportunity to learn about crypto through something that they're interested in. So perfect example would be EventChain, which is the project you're involved with. So EventChain is tickets on the blockchain, which just, those three words excite me. I'm a big concert guy. I've gone to over 100 concerts and shows. And there's a lot of problems with the traditional ticket systems that EventChain can really solve. So why don't you tell us about EventChain, tell us your role in the company, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Thanks, Sean. Yeah. It makes perfect sense, as an educator, to find a good analogy to explain blockchain technology and how it can provide solutions in the real world, in industries that are non-financial, right? And the ticketing is a very clear example. But as you said, there's so many different industries that you can go into, just coming into blockchain, because it is affecting every single industry that either stores data or has transactions. And blockchain solutions are coming out for healthcare industry, governance, oil and gas, and ticketing for myself. So you're right. There are a lot of issues in the ticketing industry, and they can actually really easily be solved by utilizing blockchain on the tickets, on the primary market and on the secondary market. So what we've done, as the CEO of EventChain, we started the company in the beginning of 2017. We developed a application starting in last August. So we've been doing about 14 months of software development, and we essentially laid out a primary ticketing market where anybody can go create an event and lower the barriers to entry and start selling tickets while accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, EventChain tokens, any other altcoins that you wish to accept, but as well accepting credit cards and PayPal, because we understand that if you were to find, at this point, find a full concert or even just a room full of people that are willing to all pay for something in Bitcoin and understand how to use it, we're still not at that stage yet because we're in really early adoption, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you and me both wish we could find a room full of people that would pay with Bitcoin, because that's our dream. But we developed the platform as a education and incentivization to utilize cryptocurrency payments, but not force them to, because you really have to give it baby steps.
Yeah, we're still so early. We're really early in this industry, this technology. It's exciting. It really is an exciting time to be building up a foundation. And that's, I think that's what both of us are doing right now, is we're trying to plant ourselves, as a, I don't like to use the word influencer, but a very strong enthusiast of this technology. So we're able to help as many people and reach out to as many people and on-ramp them into this technology the right way, because we've both seen scams. We've been in the space long enough to know that people are naive and people are still falling for the same crap that they were falling for back in 2017. Case in point, I literally today saw about 20 people share this ICO looking page for the ex PayPal guys. Did you see
Yeah.
that one going around?
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
Intuitive Q.
yeah, it's
Or,
really, there's a lot of bad things going on right now. Still, I actually made a video on my YouTube channel, Crypto Coin Show, July of 2017. I was talking about Slack scams, website impersonations, fake ICO websites. And here we are, 15 months later, and nothing has really changed. There's still lots of infiltration on Twitter with fake posts and all these other things. So that's a part of the education and incentivization to start using legitimate products, but you really first have to understand them, at least from the top level, what you're getting into, right? Because it's very complex with public keys, private keys, all these things. And the people that are developing the proper infrastructure to grow blockchain to mainstream need to design it in such a way that people don't need to know what a public key and a private key is, right? You just need to be able to see, okay, here's my amount. I can press send. I don't really have to know the internal workings of a blockchain. To make a good analogy, I like to say, you don't have to be a really strong mechanic to drive a car. You might know that there's a motor under there, but you don't really know. Most people don't know how it works. Right?
Yeah, and we're still not there yet. There isn't really that one-stop shop or that service yet that makes it so my grandma can go out and use Bitcoin.
Definitely. It's all about iterations, we're people building products and realizing, learning from their successes and their failures. And there's one thing that I learned from a recent conference at Polycon 2018. Ty Lopez actually was speaking, from an internet marketing perspective and a mainstream adoption perspective. And he said, I'm not a crypto expert, because everyone here is a crypto expert. So I'm not going to teach you about crypto, but I'm going to teach you about marketing and adoption. And, just if you look at the traditional growth of other industries and how the internet got to mainstream adoption, there's waves that come, and nothing happens overnight, right? So even in cryptocurrency, most people believe we're still in the inception or the first wave. And it's not even until the third wave until we reach mainstream adoption, which could be 5 years or so. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't stop working on blockchain applications that are already providing solutions right now.
Yeah, because there's so many of them, right? We're early adopters. I mean, it's the reality of the world we're living in right now. So tell me about EventChain, and tell me about the main 3 problems that it's solving. Because I know that like scalping, counterfeit tickets, bots, all those things are very negative things in the ticket world. So how are you guys solving those problems?
Totally. So right now, how we've designed it is that just to go back a step, and as I mentioned, we're really trying to make it so that we're onboarding people really easily, and we're not forcing them to utilize the blockchain, but we're educating them and incentivizing them. So how we've designed it is when you create an event, you have the ability, if you would like, to turn on smart contracts, which are currently on the Ethereum blockchain. We are working with many other up-and-coming blockchains as well, which are further along in their scalability, growth, and interoperability. So we're not dedicated 100% to utilizing the Ethereum blockchain because of the scalability issues. We understand the ticketing industry often, one of the problems is that all the tickets sell out in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you have a concert that has 50,000 people or 20,000 people, and everybody tries to buy tickets at the same time in the first 5 minutes, you're pretty much going to be breaking Ethereum, right? It's going to have more transactions than the Ethereum blockchain can handle. Never mind all of the other transactions in the entire world also going to Ethereum. Just this one concert alone could break it. Mm-hmm. So, scalability issues aside, having the tickets on a smart contract currently on Ethereum allows a person to check the authenticity and verify that the tickets are legitimate tickets. They're original tickets that were from the organizer. And you can go look at your ticket and check the identity, reference it to the blockchain, and you can prove that it's not a counterfeit ticket, which is a common issue right now in Major League Sports. MLB, NBA, NHL even, where there's a lot of counterfeit tickets, and especially in concerts as well. So that's one of the main issues that we're solving. The second one being the secondary market. The point of distributed technology is to remove the intermediaries that aren't providing as much value as they should be, right? And the way that EventChain is designed is that an organizer or an artist that's an up-and-coming artist that doesn't really have a lot of capital or infrastructure already around them can create an event and start accepting cryptocurrency and have that direct communication with the fans. As a fan, I'm sure you've experienced the same thing, the struggles of getting a ticket for going to a concert and then realizing that the money that you paid isn't really going to the artist, or at least not as much as you wish. I wish I could go up to the artists myself and give them the money directly and be like, this was for the albums, the concert tickets, everything. I just want to know that they're the ones being rewarded, because it's often found that many mainstream artists, have already spoken out about these ticketing issues. But for example, like some of the larger metal bands like Slayer and these guys, they actually live in their van. While they're doing world tours, they still live like on a tour bus, and they barely have enough money to afford a house and their family and all these things. So that's a major issue that the artists and the organizers really need to be further rewarded and have a more fair system. And removing these excessive processing fees that are notorious on Ticketmaster and Live Nation allow us to make the ticket cheaper for the fan, but also bring more money to the artist. Everybody's winning.
That's amazing. So. That's a really good idea, man. I know I'm a musician. I know a lot of musicians. I have friends that play shows. I've been involved in the music industry for years and years and years. And it is a big issue, man. It's something that is not only affecting the musicians, it's affecting their families. It's affecting the entire industry. So good on you guys for working at fixing that problem. That's incredible. And there's so many applications for EventChain. It's not just concerts. It's, prime example, me and Ken are organizing the Satoshi's Ball in December. This is an event that we're extremely passionate about. And we're going to be hosting it on EventChain as well. Along with a couple other sites. But it really comes down to the people putting in the work are the ones that should be getting paid for their work. It's the whole blockchain Bitcoin mentality of cutting out the middlemen, especially the unneeded ones. There's so many of them in the space.
Totally.
So tell me, how did you get into Bitcoin? How did you get into cryptocurrency? What was your first experience?
Yeah. So oddly enough, my parents actually got me into it. They were involved, before Ethereum existed. My parents have been in technology since the 90s. My father, who's the CTO of EventChain as well, he has been running .com startups in the 90s and more tech and software as a service solutions throughout the 2000s. And I really leaned on the mentorship of their entrepreneurial skills to get into a niche industry which are able to run a legitimate business in. So it's all about the mentorship of those who you surround yourself with, and that goes for everybody else on the EventChain team as well. So in fact, the executive team from EventChain, they actually have been working together all on my dad's other company for the last 8 years. So we've had a lot of working together as well. And those were also software as a service solutions. So, and it's actually appointment booking, scheduling, very similar to event booking. So we're already very well familiar with the technology in the space. So how it actually started, my father got had some Bitcoin way back when, and he introduced me to it. And this was at a time when the market cap was literally like $10 million.
Wow.
And Ethereum didn't really exist. Ethereum was coming out. We were looking at, getting into the Ethereum ICO. And for a few years there, I went through the charting Ethereum, it's at $3, it's at $5. And then, magically goes up to $20. And then I went through the DAO experience where, the money was siphoned out of the decentralized autonomous organization. And a lot of people have felt, Ethereum dropped 50% in a whole day. It dropped a whole $10, right?
Yes.
So it was catastrophic at the time. And then to see that little blip on the beginning of the chart, now that we look back and we've been into thousands of dollars,
it
just shows, how much it actually was such a little small piece of it. at the time it seemed so large. So yeah, I've been following the space since Ethereum came out, watching how other blockchains, before ICOs really started to kick in, other blockchains, they had to do either like pre-mines and then get people to run their nodes, and everyone was trying to get a community where everybody had to run nodes, or else you wouldn't be able to support the blockchain. So by putting the tokens on top of the Ethereum blockchain, it allowed everybody to just make it so much easier to create tokens and join communities. And thankfully that aided in the expansive growth, throughout 2016, 2017. And that's really when I started kicking up my YouTube channel. My father and I started in 2014, the YouTube channel. However, we actually started it under Crypto Biz Magazine. So Crypto Biz Magazine was a digital magazine similar to Bitcoin Magazine. It was a competitor to it at the time. And we were, back then even just supporting blockchain projects that were similar to Ethereum, that were running their own blockchains. But there wasn't a lot of capital in the industry at the time. So there really was a lull for 1 or 2 years where unless you were super interested in it, a lot of people, saw that coins weren't really moving, and a lot of people lost interest. But
we're almost going through that right now. Even, I mean, we had a wave of people come into cryptocurrency at the end of 2017. People getting in just off the advice of friends and family, not doing any due diligence, linking their credit card on Coinbase, thinking they own Bitcoin when they really don't. And then just getting completely discouraged by the fact that the value has gone down significantly since then. I mean, for anyone in the space, we're excited about this. This is an opportunity to accumulate. This is, something that we were hoping for when Bitcoin hit $25,000 Canadian. So, I mean, it's all a matter of perspective when you got in, and people just need to zoom out on this technology.
Totally. Yeah. And I recommend that, you really do have to have some basic level of education, and not be angry if you, blindly buy Bitcoin or Ethereum off Coinbase, which you're right, you don't own. Coinbase owns it. And that's a whole other story about keeping your own funds secure. And that's the paradigm shift from moving from the traditional banking industry into cryptocurrencies, right? The point is to bring the power back to the people, but with power comes responsibility. And that means that you have to hold your own currency and store it under your own terms and make sure that it doesn't get stolen or you don't lose it and it gets hacked. So all of that needs to be done. And it takes, it doesn't take 1 hour to learn. It can take a little while. And that's part of onboarding onto the system. But, you've already been most people already went to school for 10, 20 years, educating their whole life. So, what's a day or a week of learning about something that could be changing the future? Really, it is worth it to learn about.
Absolutely, man. What's the roadmap look like for EventChain right now? What are the next milestones that you guys are shooting for?
Yeah. So in terms of the application development, business operations, and growth, we actually have a huge update coming out in the beginning of November here, first week of November. We're releasing the release candidate 1. So right now, we've been running the MVP application since August. And with that, we actually hosted some of our own events on EventChain, as well as some other cryptocurrency conferences and fashion shows, other galas on EventChain. So it already is sort of diversifying into different non-financial, non-business and tech industries. So the release is coming out first week in November. You'll be able to, fully use the system. Anybody, any viewers can go to eventchain.io, create an event, start accepting cryptocurrency, accept credit cards, utilize the blockchain smart tickets. And from there, it's really, everybody, when ICOs do their raises, there's always like a little bit of a lull period where everyone's settling down. We spent about 13 months of software development developing the application since last year. And now we're ready to actually grow the business operations, right? And that's one of the struggles many other companies have faced in the blockchain industry is they're really development focused and they're super coders. However, there's a big disparity, and this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about Tai Lopez, is that everyone here is a crypto expert, but who's a marketing expert? And to a certain extent, these crypto projects need to have cash flows, and they need to have legitimate, balance sheets and income statements. And that's so that we can grow legitimate businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the blockchains themselves don't make money.
No.
Use cases on top of blockchains that utilize blockchain technology are what people should be investing in, because those are the applications that make money.
Absolutely.
So, in the next 6 months, it's all about getting more event organizers and more people purchasing tickets on EventChain, expanding out. We've had events in North America. We have some events that will be hosted throughout Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, Vietnam, Tokyo. So people are free all around the world to set up events on EventChain. There's no restrictions country-wise, and of course, accepting Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is recommended, and that can be done globally. So it's really a global effort to push this solution to solve these problems around the world.
Awesome. So for a lot of the new watchers that maybe, or new people that may be getting into cryptocurrency through watching either my YouTube channel, your YouTube channel, or just, on social media, what are some of your favorite influencers or news sources or, resources that you use or recommend to people?
Totally. Yeah. And there's lots of different good, educational influencers to look at. I like to take everything with a grain of salt, right? It's more about who's saying it than what's being said.
Yep.
Especially when I'm browsing through sites like Reddit, where I'm looking at the R Bitcoin versus R BTC. For example, if people just go to those and they don't understand the context, people wouldn't know that there's been, a political divide in these two subreddits for the last 5 years.
Yep.
And they're very against each other, and they have different goals, right? So not knowing that, you can read an article from, R Bitcoin, and it will be super one-sided, not realizing the people that are putting it out. So whoever you are watching, always look at what's the underlying motives behind it. So just to name a couple of other influencers, I really like, for example, on YouTube, Ivan on Tech.
Mm-hmm.
He brings a tech side to it, but doesn't get too into it, and he still has a good personality.
Mm-hmm. I met Ivan on the Coinsbank blockchain cruise in the Mediterranean, and I helped put together the panel that he spoke on with Ken Bozak, Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Ivan, and Michael. It was actually and Omar Baum was on that one as well. So yeah,
totally.
He knows his stuff, man. He's got great content, and he's got a really good outlook on and way of explaining it easily so people understand it.
Definitely. And that's what makes it attractive to watch, right? So it's just about people that can break down the terms and into layman's terms, right? And also they keep focused and they keep their information concise. No one likes a half an hour video where you really only said, one thing or two things, and the rest is just filler. Yeah. So that's really important, because there's so much to learn in the cryptocurrency industry that they say, if you're not struggling to keep up, you're obviously not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
So we don't have time to diddy daddle on side stories when there's lots to learning and moving forward. So I always try to keep my videos, 5 minutes to 15 minutes maximum, and just get as much information as I can into people's heads during that time.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I'm doing with my YouTube channel is really giving people like yourself, who are essentially the voice or the face of a company, a chance to explain your company in those layman terms, so that people that are interested have one more resource that they can go and do a bit of research into. So summarize EventChain in a couple sentences in a way that you would explain it to a 5-year-old.
Sure. So it's like hosting an event. If you wanted to host an event yourself, you wanted to host a 5-year-old's birthday party, you can go on the site, type in the date of your event, type in the description, say it's a paid event, or say you want to accept gifts through there. Put the price of your ticket, $10 for a ticket, and say you want to accept Bitcoin, and all of a sudden people can just pay you directly. And you don't have to go meet up with them. They could actually say it was a digital online birthday party. You could have people paying you instantaneously from around the world, from Asia, from Africa, pay you directly. and join your party. And essentially, you get all of those funds directly from the attendees. You don't have to worry about people taking 20% or how they would normally do in a concert.
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining it. Okay, so last question for you. What was your favorite event of 2018 and why?
Ooh, there was a lot of great events in 2018. I would say one of my favorites, which is a recurring event, which is coming up soon as well, was in January, the North American Bitcoin Miami conference, at James Knight Center in Miami. The keynote, which is Mo Levin's blockchain company, hosted it, and it was a super successful event. I was very impressed by the turnout. Of course, it was right at the peak of January 15th when Bitcoin and Ethereum prices were almost at an all-time high.
Yeah.
And to put it in perspective, the auditorium, for the people presenting, there literally was 3,000 plus people in the auditorium listening to the presentations. And also the exhibition floor was super packed. And I was down there with the Crypto Canucks, which you are probably familiar with. They're a media company on the East Coast as well. They're doing blockchain news. And I always go to them as well to make sure that I'm getting caught up on what's going on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. We're over here on the West Coast. We like to do collaborations. So we actually met up together in Miami, and we did interviews with Polymath right when their token sale had closed. Mm-hmm. We did interviews with Dash. I interviewed Ty Lopez. We had credits. I did about a dozen interviews or so up for our channels, and it was really resourceful, really great networking. It's coming up again on January 15th, again, 2019, and I would highly recommend everybody to go.
Awesome. So let everyone know where they can follow you, where they can get more information on EventChain, and any shout outs that you want to give.
Definitely, yeah. Please join our Telegram, t.me/EventChain, and then reach out to me on Telegram there. Also subscribe to our YouTube channels at Crypto Coin Show and at EventChain. And of course, come to eventchain.io. Feel free to host an event. If you guys need help hosting events, we have a really good support team that can, of course, show you how to host an event, start accepting cryptocurrencies. And if you have any questions, send us an email or Telegram. Those are the best ways to reach us.
Awesome. Well, Ashton, thanks for being on the show, man. I'm sure I'm going to see you at an event in the future. Both of us are kind of moving all around Canada and spreading the word. So I look forward to getting my event hosted up on EventChain. And hopefully you can make it to Ottawa on December 15th for Satoshi's Ball, because that is going to be a wild party. We really are so passionate about this project just due to the fact that a lot of the events right now, I feel like they're in a bubble. Like it's the same information being spewed out over and over again. And we want to just take the two things that I find most important about an event, which are the networking and the party.
You got it.
So we're going to smash those things together and make an amazing night for people. So hopefully you can make it out. Thanks for being on the Just Learn Crypto show. And as always, guys, have a great day.
Thank you, Sean.